What if the difference in you having what you wanted and you having clear intentional direction, what if the difference between that and where you're at was unleashing the power of a shaman? Back in the old days, the shamans, and they had different labels in different cultures, but they were the ones who were responsible for translating the signs of what happened around them. Hey, this happened. This is good for your life. Hey, this happened. That means you need to avoid that in your life. They saw things and they took it. And essentially what they did was they framed it. They framed it for the people who were on the journey with them, so that hopefully the people who were on the journey could have hope. I had one of my friends send me this. Let's see if I can get it. I have to pull my head out of the, let's do this and then see if it does this, because it likes to focus on. All right, so this is a coin, and the coin is a big old coin. And the coin is a koi fish and a dragon. So I had a friend and a client friend send this to me. And that in and of itself is pretty cool. Big weighty coin that is, that's there. I like that. So, but not only did he send me the coin, he didn't tell me he was sending me the coin, but he also sent a note. And the note told the story of the legend of the koi fish and the dragon. And the story goes something like this, that a long time ago, there lived a school of goldfish, carp, and the fish, one of them actually was looking up and he saw a hawk, and the hawk says, "You should see what I'm seeing." And so the carp pulls his head up out of the water, looks around and says, "Man, this is mind-blowing. How did I not see these things before? I mean, like, what I have is cool, but this is like, whoa." And he happens to look and he sees up the Yellow River, he sees a mountain. And from the mountain was a waterfall. And he says, "I've got to go check that out." And just like any smart person or smart carp would do, he got his buddies, got his family, got a bunch of others to go with him, says, "Hey, I saw something cool and I'm going to go there." And as he starts to go in the direction, they swim up the river. Now, that's difficult in and of itself, but it went, they kept going. They faced trials and tribulations and other animals and all kinds of things along the way. And by the time they get there, the demons look at them and they mock them, because the fish have arrived at the end of their journey, and all it is waterfall, water hitting where they're at. And so the same one that looked up and saw all of this wonderful stuff says, "You know what? I think we can go up there." And so the fish, unbelievably, started to try to jump up the waterfall, but unsuccessfully. They tried and tried and tried. And at some point, the demons looking at them mocked them and even raised the waterfall up. Still they tried. For over 100 years, they tried. And during that time, other things removed most of the fish who were trying to do this. But the ones that were left, they were strong. They had like a different makeup. They'd grown. Their muscles were massive. You ever seen a koi? A little different, right? And eventually one day, the one who looked up and was challenged by the hawk was able to make it up the waterfall. And the gods thought, "Hey, that's pretty cool. Look what this thing has made himself." And so what they did was they endowed him with something even cooler. So in the spirit of transformation, they turned him into a dragon. And so this is why on this coin, there's a dragon in the koi. The reason I share that story with you is, so imagine someone gives you that coin and then they give you that story and then they say something like, Your journey is making you a koi. Look at what you're becoming. Do you see how just a token can suddenly mean something deeper? So it's not the thing, guys. It's the story behind the thing. It's the meaning that we create from the thing that matters most. And it's either going to empower you or it's going to disempower you. And I've been carrying this thing in my pocket for the last week since I got it. It's right there in my pocket. It's weighty, feels good. What if you had that power with your clients? What if you had that power towards your team? What if you held that power towards your family, towards your children? What if you held the power of being able to say, hey, see this thing? Here's what it means, and I'm giving it to you. And when you have this, when you feel it, when you see it, I want you to think this. One more story, and then I'm going to get into the practical reasons why this actually matters. If you are growing a team and you haven't thought through stages of your game and tokens that you should be giving to people in their journey, you're missing it, man. If you are working with home buyers and you know it's an arduous path. If you haven't figured out, like, oh, here's this phase, this is where they're going to get worried. Oh, here's this phase, here's where they're going to get nervous or they're going to feel broke. Or here's this phase and, we finally made it. You will no longer be the person that gives people a cutting board or a bottle of champagne. You're going to be the person that thinks through, grabs something, and gives it meaning and puts it into the hands of other people. This is one of my favorite pictures. I have some things around. I call them play bigger triggers after what my friend Evan Carmichael calls them. I'm like, I'm taking that. I'm stealing that. And every once in a while, I give you credit. But here's a play bigger trigger for me. And the play bigger trigger here, this is a time where we were on an adventure. Hint, I love thinking of myself as adventurous. So here we are on an adventure. And we're on Shai Beach. It's a remote beach. There's no cell signal or anything like that. And it's on a Native American reservation in the very northwest corner of America. We get there, and we decided instead to take the adventurous way up, which was to climb a mountain. To get there, we had to scale a smaller stone, I don't know if you would call it a hill, but we scaled that, we come down, and then we start going up the rope. And I didn't realize, but my daughter, my youngest one, she was wearing flip-flops. They were ripped off her feet. And so she was barefoot by this time and couldn't go back over the rocky, sharp structure. The only way to go was up. And up was something she was having a real hard time doing. And I looked at her and I said, Anna, do you see that sun? And she said, yes, Dad. She was crying, And I said, well, we're going to make it up to the top of this, me and you, and I've got you. But we're going to make it up to the top of this. And we're going to see that sunset, and that's going to be our sunset. And we're going to remember that forever. And you're going to remember what you were able to do. And I got to tell you, it summoned something in her. Another burst of energy, another burst of belief, another burst of power. And she scaled up that mountain with me behind her. It wasn't dangerous. Like I'm a bad parent. It's on the borderline of bad parenting. All of us did it. We were the last ones up. And we got there. We saw the most rewarding sunset that I've ever seen in my life. You have the power to give things meaning. And if you have that power, let's stop looking at things as common. Okay? When I would train people in a company that I was working with, I would train all the new hires, usually about a dozen a month. And by the time we were done with it, there would be less than a dozen. My goal was to give these people a sense of belief and a sense of understanding of their gifts. And so I would always look for something unique about them. I would take a trip to the dollar store every single month. I'll tell you what, I'll even get one. I've got one of these. So I would take a trip and I would get my bottle of gold spray paint, and I would get like plastic animals or something. And I'm like, you were the most courageous, so you get the Lionheart Award, or you are someone who has a smooth phone voice, so like you're getting the smooth operator, or like, and I would find something that would symbolize it. And you can make anything mean anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It matters what you say about it as you give it to the person. So I want you specifically to think about the stuff you're going through. Forget about it for a moment. And I want you to look at what other people might be going through and think, how can I be a blessing to them on their path? How can I give them a little bit of courage? How can I help them to draw upon the gifts or talents that are in them? How can I help them to see something from a new perspective? What can I do to help them stay in the fight? Because that absolutely matters. It matters. Now I want you to think about yourself. I showed you my Play Bigger trigger. Who's this for? This guy. Who does it mean anything to? This guy. I made that mean something for me. And so when I look at it and I feel like I'm a fraud, or I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, or I feel like am I even helpful to anyone? Do I even matter? Or I feel like I'm a bad parent, or I feel like all of these things. It's weird how feelings, we get like a feeling of, there's a crud feeling, and oftentimes it's followed by like thoughts that are like, they're just floating around. Some are true, most are not, somewhere in the middle. But what happens is like this crud feeling just grabs a crap thought, and then it sticks, and then it becomes like it's projected on the movie theater of our brain. And so this is a way I understand my own journey, and I understand we get to be the meaning bringers. We get to be the givers of value and of what something actually means. And so become a shaman. Become a translator of the signs and wonders around you. And it's okay if you're just making it up. It's okay. I love, one of my favorite things I get to do with executives, you'd be surprised at how many, we all need this. I am the knighter. I'm like the official person of like, hey, listen, you are hereby the courageous, caregiver. Or like, it's like, hey, you're the friend of friends. Like, it's helping people just to grab hold of who they are and become themselves. We need permission to do that. I love knighting people. I don't have my sword anymore. I sent my last one out. But I love calling out what is in other people. And I hope in some ways that you coaches out there embrace that. You leaders out there embrace it. You parents out there embrace it, and be open to some of the symbology of what you can assign to things. Channel the power of the shaman, the translator, the bringer of meaning, and watch how other people crush it around you. And watch how you do it as well.